This is the ZR9 Camaro. It's a '69 Camaro. It's 99% aftermarket, not much GM left on it, except for the supercharger. Well, it's a RHS block with a LS9 supercharger on top. It's got a T56 Magnum transmission and a Moser 9-inch rear end. It's all Detroit Speed, coilovers, AA arms in front, and QUADRALink in the rear. We're going to be talking about the exhaust install. The biggest challenge is running it through the QUADRALink because you're running around a lot of panhard bars, lower and upper control arms, not to mention the rear end itself. Getting around the gas tank is a bit of an issue as well. The stock exhaust system is made for a leaf spring car with a regular rear end. This is a narrow 9-inch with the QUADRALink in it, so there's a lot more that you got to run the exhaust around, and a lot more bends and curves and all that jazz. What I like to do is I like to get the center section in first and get the mufflers where I know they're going to be sitting. And once I have the mufflers in their correct location, then I like to build back from that to the tailpipes. That way I know I'm going to be able to get around the rear end and the panhard bar, which is the biggest obstacle because the panhard bar is much tighter on one end than it is on the other. So once you get it through the tight end of the panhard bar, then it's pretty much smooth sailing from there. We started with a MagnaFlow 3-inch system that was built for a stock '69 Camaro. I took the rear sections that were behind the mufflers and chopped them to pieces and re-welded them and got the bends to work around the QUADRALink rear end. Other than that, we only needed really a couple 45-degree bends in order to make it work from the mufflers up to the headers. It comes with everything you need, basically. It's got all of the hangers, hardware, clamps, pipes. It even comes with the X-pipe. The tubing, actually, it's really nice. It's all stainless. It's all mandrel-bent, so no matter where you cut it, you can just section another piece onto it and it fits perfectly as long as you made your cut at a direct 90-degree angle. So it made welding it and sectioning it a lot easier than with just a crimp-bent piece of tubing. I doubt we could bend a pipe this nicely at home. Well, we use Detroit Speed headers, and they have a special type of clamp that's called a V-band clamp that actually sucks the pipes together as you tighten the clamp and makes for a really nice positive seal that won't ever leak. The clamps that are supplied with the MagnaFlow kit are great. They're just band clamps. They provide a nice even clamping surface, and as long as you have the notches cut where you're clamping, they're great to be able to remove them again in the future. They work a lot better than that U-bolt style clamp that actually just pinches your pipe shut and makes it near impossible to get them back apart once you do clamp them together. Well, we had the cross member before we had the exhaust system, so I basically had to work my X-pipe around that. And when you're dealing with the droop of the drive shaft and the fixed location of the cross member, you really have to think about it a little bit before you just start chopping and welding. So what we ended up doing was I tried to find the sweet spot where the drive shaft wasn't dropping too low to where it was going to actually smack the exhaust at full droop. So I positioned it right behind the tail shaft of the transmission, and then we basically had to section the front end of the X-pipe out more to where we could fit through the loops of the cross member. Fully TIG welded. We just did butt joints on this one. Provided a nice clean look, not very bulky, and with QUADRALink and whatnot in the rear, we really wanted to slim it down as much as possible, so we didn't use any slip joints or anything like that to make it any bulkier than we needed to. So it requires a lot of test fitting, a lot of checking, a lot of cutting it once, cutting it again, cutting it a third time until you get it to fit right. Then I'll get everything tacked in place, and once I have everything where I want it, I'll take it all back out of the car and TIG weld it fully around the seam on the bench. Well, the MagnaFlow kit actually comes with a set of hangers that hang right behind the mufflers. So I used those, and then I welded the entire middle section of it together from the headers all the way to the mufflers, so that you really only need one set of hangers in that section, and the header flange itself actually acts as a hanger, And then I do one other set of hangers right on the tailpipes as they're about to exit the car, just to keep everything from rattling around too much. We like to go with a nice hidden look with them, so we cut them flush with the corners, or with the quarter panel lines. There's a lot of obstacles that you have to work around, such as fuel lines, emergency brake cables, brake lines, even the fuel tank itself. We ended up having to wrap the exhaust around the fuel tank because with 3-inch pipe setup, it's really tricky to find a good area to run it around the gas tank. So we had to run it so close that we decided to wrap the exhaust around that section, just because this is a supercharged engine and the exhaust is going to run a lot hotter. So we didn't want to run into any issues of fuel boiling or anything like that. It's actually DEI titanium heat wrap. It's got kind of a carbon fiber look to it. It's really neat looking stuff, and it withstands temperatures up to like 2,500 degrees. I think it's got a nice throaty, aggressive sound to it. Especially on a supercharged engine, you can hear the whine of the supercharger through the pipes, and it just sounds great.